there's one thing we learned last year, is that you can't have enough guys that could rush the quarterback. So, hey, for the 2026 class, how about another edge rusher from the great state of Louisiana? Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to today's episode of Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below if you think Michigan State has a better shot of going 3-9, or the opposite, the more fun option, 9-3. Because we're going to look at both of those records, the best case scenario, the worst case scenario for this season, according to CBS Sports. And we're going to talk about, okay, what's the roadmap going to be to 9-3? That'll be a short conversation because we just did a whole episode on that. And then, hey, what is the unpleasant roadmap to 3-9? But before all that, guys, it is time to talk recruiting because, well, yeah, this is all that this staff has been doing ever since this calendar flipped to June, which is obviously now in July. But for the 18th time since June 1st, your Michigan State football staff got a commit. This one coming from down south in Louisiana. Chris Addison is the latest guy to pledge his commitment to the 2026 class. Now, Mr. Addison, 6'3", 255-pound edge guy. Now, this is going to come with a lot of high rankings right now. He's a top 600 player overall in the country, top 60 at his position of edge rush, according to Rivals. And Rivals says that this kid is on your Mount Rushmore of best players in the Michigan State class right now. Rivals says this is your fourth highest rated kid, right behind quarterback Cade Kaufman, tight end Eddie Whiting, and then wide receiver from down in Florida, Tyron Wortham. 24/7 Sports, they're even higher on this kid, Chris Addison, saying that it is your second best commit after offensive tackle Colin Campbell. And on three, well, they have him fifth best, still pretty good behind Campbell, Kaufman, Wortham, and Eddie Whiting. So who else was competing for Chris Addison? Where else did he visit? Because, yes, of course, he did visit Michigan State in the middle of June, but he also took visits to Arizona State, UCLA, Florida State. He made sure to hit every single time zone. And even though he didn't visit this school, Tulane, being the in-state school, always seen as a threat in this recruitment, no matter what staff you were a part of here. He also had offers from Texas Tech, Baylor, Houston, TCU, pretty much every Texas school, it seems like, and North Carolina too, guys. So yes, a lot of good Power 4 offers out there, and also the visits to match that. So what do we know about this kid? Well, out of Winsboro, Louisiana. That's right. Which, by the way, made a deep run in the 4A state playoffs last season. They went 10-2. Obviously, Chris Addison did a lot of damage on the defensive side of the ball, but also as a tight end, I believe he had 10 touchdown receptions even as a tight end. So smaller school where he plays at down there. A little bit of going both ways action, offensive and defensively. But obviously, when he comes up here, he will be this edge rusher. So what do we like about this kid is, hey, you know what? We already have a guy, Fasiale. That's a guy out of Seattle, 2026 commit. He's your more traditional defensive end, right? Like hand in the dirt. Kind of think what Jalen Thompson does on this year's Michigan State team. They have also Corey House part of this class. Now, he's a stand-up edge guy, always starting in a sprinter's stance. And his job is quite simply just get to the quarterback's face and just try to maul it for us. This is what Chris Addison will be doing. Down in Winsboro, that is what he is also slated as. Just the guy that's starting off. Looks like a stand-up linebacker, looks like the stand-up edge guy, burn and turn, get to the quarterback, or if they're handing the ball off, just try to just murder that running back as soon as you possibly can. But he's got a quick first step, guys. When that ball is snapped, it's like a starter's gun in a race. I know we've said the word sprinter a lot, but yeah, he is out like a light right there when that gun goes off, when that ball is snapped. I also see some really good hand-to-hand combat skills at his position, and it's no wondering why he's a top 600 player in the country here. So a really solid 3-star, if not a highly rated 3-star kid coming to this class. Now, in other news, as it pertains to recruiting, because it's been a while since we've chatted, guys. It was before the 4th. Adrian Hamilton, interior offensive lineman. He was down between Michigan State, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. Now, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this kid because, well, the kid out of the DMV area, he committed to the Hokies on Saturday. So that's pretty much going to wrap things up for the time being for the offensive line class. Could another kid pop up, have a really solid senior season? Michigan State gives him an offer. Yes, of course. But as things stand right now for the offensive line class, right now, okay, it's 4 guys. Colin Campbell, you already know about this kid, 4-star offensive tackle from Arizona, and also more offensive tackles too. Eli Bickle from Michigan, Tristan Comer from Michigan too, and your 4th guy, interior offensive lineman, Quinn Buckey. So that's 3 tackles, 1 interior guy, and right now, again, as it stands, that's going to be the offensive line class coming into next season, which stacked on last year's class with interior guys like Antonio Johnson, Drew Nichols, solid enough, 3 interior guys over 2 classes. Maybe they try to add another one, and then Justin Bell in last year's class too. So no shortage of tackles. It's 4 tackles over the last 2 classes here. We're going to see who pops off. Let's see if Colin Campbell, he rises to that 4-star ceiling just immediately right off the bat here. Or let's say that one of these guys they took a flyer on, right? Like Tristan Comer, a guy that's rated well outside the top 1,000, a guy that's still trying to learn the position of offensive tackle as he switched over from tight end. Let's see if the scratch-off lottery ticket of a commit can actually pay off for Jim Maholchek, our offensive line coach, and Michigan State. Just like last year, Justin Bell. Justin Bell comes to Michigan State with a great frame out of Macomb, Dakota. Still has, some fine-tuning to do, a little rough around the edges, but hey, anytime you get a guy that's what's Justin Bell? He was like 6'8", like 500 pounds, basically. He is a mammoth kid. But hey, you know what? If they could chisel him into a solid offensive tackle, you're going to like these last 2 classes. Now, it could have been better, of course, for offensive line. Yes, Gregory Patrick. This is the legacy kid who this staff was on ever since their wheels touched down in East Lansing 2 off seasons ago to start their tenure here at Michigan State. Obviously, even before June official visit season started, he commits to Notre Dame, not just a legacy kid, but a top 200 kid. So that's a big miss right there. If you also want to say that Khalif Canty obviously was a big miss, I'm not going to argue that too. That kid from Detroit, Cass Tech, interior offensive lineman, they were on him pretty early, and then his stock only skyrocketed as he got his body a lot better. But you know how that story ended. He commits to Mizzou. So they went, you can call it 4 of 6 for their top targets here for the offensive line class. Unfortunately, you could argue that 2 of them were the top 2. If you want to say Colin Campbell was the second biggest target, look, I'm not going to put up a fight right now. It's the weekend. I'm not in a fighting mood. But any way you slice it, hey, getting 4 of 6 is really solid, but just sucks to be a silver medalist, if not maybe even a bronze medalist for those other 2 kids. But right now for this class, what do we got here, guys? 22 commits. Again, 18 since the start of June. Now, right now, Michigan State rated 29th overall on Rivals, and maybe that is confusing to you. Maybe you're saying, hey, Matt, I know I missed a few shows of Locked On Spartans, but I feel like last week or 2 weeks ago, you said that this class ranked inside the top 20. I thought this was a class that was ranked inside the top 25 at least. What's going on here? Well, I tried to caution everyone, and again, this isn't like you should panic about this class. It's not a good class all of a sudden. But when we did talk about this run of commits that Michigan State had, we always had a feeling that this was going to slide outside the top 30 just because they don't have the 4-star or 5-star firepower here. And other schools that were behind Michigan State during these rankings, well, these Dragons have woken up. Unfortunately, yes, Michigan is one of them. They have now jumped Michigan State. Alabama, God, they've been recruiting their faces off the last week or so here. They've been on a hot streak. Oregon, okay, they've popped up against Michigan State here. Texas Tech, Tennessee, schools that you're kind of just watching like, when are they finally going to pass Michigan State? Well, it's right here, right now. So again, 29th overall. Might slide outside the top 30, but just a quick mailbag question about recruiting here is what we're going to start the second segment with. And then, of course, getting into this, hey, best case, worst case scenario conversation. But first, guys, need to talk your ears off about Gametime. That's right, the greatest ticketing app out there. And ever decided to just, hey, wake up one morning and, oh my goodness, it's a Detroit Tigers day game. It's beautiful. The team's even more beautiful. We should go to Comerica Park, but we don't have tickets. We didn't jump on them at a good enough time. Oh, man, we're going to have to pay a butt ton of money. Not with Gametime. It is so simple on the Gametime app to save money even the day of a game, hours before the game, even minutes before and after a game starts, guys. With their last-minute ticket deals, they are second to none. And what's even better than saving money? How about just like an easy app to use? I really think that's neat about Gametime. It's not one of these apps where it is 16 taps on your phone, boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo, and you get to the finish line and you're wondering why there's $117 worth of fees waiting for you at the end. Like, what's that all about? Not with Gametime. It's 2 taps on your phone. It's completely transparent up front with the fees, and bang, tickets are sent straight to your phone, guys. Download the Gametime app. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, guys, download the Gametime app today. It's last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Cracking open the good old mailbag here at LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com. And this one comes from Ryan, who writes in, just curious what we typically expect from a numbers perspective coming in from the high school ranks. I know it fluctuates by year, but are we near the end or over what we expected-ish for commits this year? Love seeing them add the edge prospect beating out Florida State. Of course, he's talking about Chris Addison. Now to 2020, now up to 22 commits for this class. I know there will likely be decommits too, so not sure if the strategy usually is to add until signing day or what. Curious, what are the expectations? Right now, from what I know, we're basically just hitting the pause button on recruiting. Right now, the class is at 22 kids. This is a number that the staff feels comfortable with, but they will still look at other senior year films, anyone that really pops off the page in their senior year, and of course, still put effort towards flipping. Not a ton of effort in a ton of kids, but maybe keeping an eye out on some kids that they will be trying to flip. Corey Amakri, the running back out of Hazlitt, that's one guy to keep an eye on. A, because there's no running back in this class, and B, all that it's going to take for the staff to keep an eye on the kid and visit him time and time again is, like a 16th of a tank of gas? I mean, Hazlitt's 15, 20 minutes from campus? It's not going to be hard to keep tabs on Corey Amakri, the kid that committed to Kansas a few weeks ago. So, yes, they will still be trying to add. Will they expect a decommit? I don't think that they're looking at a certain name and saying, oh, we don't know about that one. But it's inevitable that, yes, a commit or 2 or 3 could happen in this day and age of recruiting. Now, I will say that this is different with this staff, too. You didn't really see a lot of decommits last year, if any, really come to memory. This is a staff, when they say we're looking at guys that fit a culture, a certain type of kid that we like, they truly mean that. And I think some of that has to do with once they commit somewhere, they stick to it. Like, they see it out up until signing day. So I wouldn't expect this mass exodus of decommits, barring like this disaster of a season coming up or any big staffing changes. If anyone poaches a coordinator, for example, I don't suspect that to happen. But right now, it's hitting the pause button. I don't think any commits will be happening because, by and large, all the kids that visited in June, they've either committed to Michigan State, they've committed elsewhere, or maybe right now their offer isn't a committable offer too. So that is the skinny on where we are at with recruiting. But hey, thanks a lot, Ryan, for the mailbag question. Also wrote in, thanks, man, you're the best. No, Ryan, I'm just trying to be like you. Thanks a lot for the mailbag question. All right, guys, we're going to switch topics of conversation. We're staying on the football field, but we're either going to just frolic right under the rainbows together and have a great old time, or we are just going to be doom and gloom for the next 10 or 15 minutes here because, hey, CBS Sports, the great Tom Fornelli, one of my favorite college football writers out there, he had a Big Ten best case, worst case scenario piece where it's pretty much what it sounds like. He went team by team. He listed their best case scenario for the season and their worst case scenario for the season. Now, I'm just going to read what he wrote about your Michigan State Spartans, guys. He said best case scenario is a 9-3 season. He writes, Aidan Chile shows development, and while his accuracy continues to be a problem, his decision-making improves tremendously, leading to far fewer turnovers. He also makes enough wow throws to fill social media with highlights. The Spartans knock off Michigan at home, thanks to Childs and a rapidly improving defense under Joe Rossi. A loss to Penn State in November ends the playoff dreams, but when Childs announces he intends to return for 2026, the nation immediately begins hyping this program up as a 2026 dark horse. Oh, man. If you're having a good time, if your mood is way too good and you don't want it taken down right now, look, I'm never going to tell anyone to turn off the episode, but maybe it's best to just step away from here on out because let's read what the worst case scenario will be for this season. The worst case scenario, a 3-9 season. Aidan Childs continues to make bad decisions that lead to turnovers and continuously put the Michigan State defense in bad positions. An early loss to Boston College shakes the team's confidence a bit, and it craters following consecutive road losses to USC and Nebraska. Things only get worse down the stretch, and Childs is benched before hitting the portal following the season, leading to a lot of question marks about Jonathan Smith's program heading into 2026. Now, wasn't that fun? I hope we're all just in a Danny mood after reading that because, well, as fun as the 9-3 season sounded, there is a bit of realism to what we just heard with 3-9. We'll get into a lot of that right now, but first, look, my thoughts, I'm going to give you some really boring thoughts, guys, because I would love to say, no, the best case scenario is 10-2. We're going to go to the playoff. I really think Michigan State is capped at a 9-3 season. I mean, yes, the schedule gets easier, but no, it is not a picnic by any stretch of the imagination. We'll get more into that in a little bit. The worst case scenario, yeah, I mean, maybe it just seems so real because we've seen some bad seasons, but 3-9 is certainly on the table for everything that Tom Fornelli wrote. And of course, the injuries, that goes without saying. He didn't have to write that in his piece. But if your offensive line, once again, gets mauled by week 3 of the season, I know that we have some depth, but still, anytime you're knocking down a few starters, any position group, yeah, that's going to lower your floor here. So, look, I completely agree. I think the basement is 3-9, as bad as that sounds. I think the best case is 9-3. But enough of what I say. Let's talk about what you guys said because I threw it out to Twitter. Hey, Tom Fornelli, he says 9-3, 3-9. Those are the two options. If you had to bet your hard-earned money on one of these outcomes, which would you bet on? Now, more than 500 of you voted, and I am fully aware that most of my followers are Michigan State fans, many of them being optimistic, but it was a 63% vote of 9-3 is more likely than 3-9. So meaning that 35% of you beautiful people, you guys saw that 3-9 is likely more likely of a chance to happen. So enough of what you guys say. And again, I love every single one of you, but let's talk about someone that is pretty important out there in the world of college football, the world of numbers. And this is a guy that we've had on the show. His name is Kelly Ford, kfordrankings.com. Very great predictive analytics for college football. And what are his thoughts? What do his numbers say behind that calculator of his? Well, right now, let's just say this. He says your most likely record is a 5-7 season, giving Michigan State a 28% chance. Now he gives 6-6 like a 20% chance, 4-8 like a 19% chance. But right now, for a 9-3 season, I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers out there, but for a 9-3 season, he gives you a 1% chance of seeing that happen. Now, again, guys, we just did an episode not too long ago painting the picture of how a 9-3 season happens. Improvement from the offensive line, the wide receivers, Aidan Chile taking a step forward. Hey, maybe someone in the pass rush. The schedule isn't as bad. If you want a more in-depth episode about that, go back a few episodes. Oh my God, guys, we had a twinkle in our eye talking about 9-3 Michigan State. Now, this is where we're going to spend most of our time, and I'm sorry to maybe end your weekend or start your week on this note, but let's actually talk about what could happen. Sometimes it's nice, not just as fans, but as human beings, to talk about your nightmares, talk about the worst case scenario, speak it into existence. So if it happens, maybe it softens the blow. Or maybe when you talk about it amongst friends, like you, the beautiful listener and the viewer, maybe we could just make sense of it together of what would happen. How could this happen? And just face reality that, yes, everything's on the table. Guys, we're still weeks ahead of kickoff. We don't know what's going to happen, but K Ford Ranking says that a 3-9 record has a 12% chance of happening attached to it. So I know that most of us think that, yes, 9-3 is more likely, but he's telling you it's 12 times more likely to see a 3-9 season. So why? Why is he saying that? It's two things. The first one is just his numbers, his analytics, right? Like right now, yes, the schedule is easier than it was last year, right? No Ohio State and Oregon back-to-back. No gauntlet of the October. But it's still the 20th hardest schedule in the nation this season. Yes, Michigan State's defense, they are ranked 34th, according to K Ford Rankings heading into this season. And that's not bad. Hey, that's above average, okay? Well, here's not above average. Your offense, according to K Ford Rankings, is 105th. I don't even know if I can name 104 FBS teams at the top of my head right now. It's not great shakes for the offense. And guys, it's not just what Michigan State is on paper. It's what their opponents are on paper, too. They are facing 5 defenses in the top 20 this season. Now, go ahead and guess. I'll give you a second or two to see who the top 5 defenses are. Nebraska, Michigan, Minnesota, Penn State, Iowa. All 5 of those guys are in the top 20. So it's not just what the numbers say too, guys. But here's the second thing why, hey, maybe 3-9 is a scary outcome. And I'm not trying to go full fear factor here, but let's talk about how this could possibly happen. It does start at Boston College, right? Like just how Tom Fornelli said. I mean, hey, Boston College, they could have a more reliable quarterback, one that fits the Bill O'Brien system a little more run-oriented. And, well, enough about what the Eagles could have to offer here. What about Michigan State? It's not out of the realm of possibility that, yes, with 2 new key offensive linemen, maybe even 3 starting this year, that it does take a little bit to gel, so to speak. Okay, well, how about the other side of the ball? Have you found anyone that could rush the quarterback this year? And even behind them, you talk about gelling, you talk about new players. How about the entire secondary, basically, specifically at the cornerback and the nickel position? Your safeties, look, Malik Spencer, Nikai Martinez, that's pretty set in stone, although there'll be some rotation going on there with other guys. But the cornerback room, that's wide open. And God forbid if they're trying to gel together while also trying to defend their receiver, so to speak, for 7-8 seconds because no one can get to the quarterback like that. Look, I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's my guess. But there is a very realistic chance that, well, that's just life in your second week of the season. Can you iron out all those kinks against Western Michigan? I don't know. And let's say that, hey, Aidan Chile, let's say he doesn't take that big step of development going into next season. He's still got to work out some chemistry with these new receivers. Like, yes, you got Nick Marsh, but you also have Mark Kelly, Christian McCray, Evan Boyd, Rodney Bullard. Let's give a shout out to our Valdosta State transfer too while we're at it. But yeah, I mean, let's say there is no pass rush threat. Let's say that the leap from going from FCS or UConn for our secondary players is just a little too much to Power 4 football, and then it just snowballs out of control from there, guys. I mean, because look, the schedule, well, nicer. The schedule is something that we welcome with open arms. It is a nicer schedule, but there is a 3 or 4 game stretch right after that Boston College game. Yes, you get a break, knock on wood, against Youngstown. But after that, 3 or 4 games are on the road. It's USC. Yes, you get a bye week, but then it's Nebraska, UCLA at home, which, okay, we like. It's noon. It's homecoming. It's going to be 9 a.m. to UCLA's body clocks. But then on the road again to Indiana. And then after that, let's say it doesn't go well. Let's say you go 1-3 in that stretch. Let's say, oh, my God, you go 0-4 in that stretch. Well, it doesn't really lighten up after that, I got to say, guys. Like, it's Michigan. Yes, at home, you always feel good about a rivalry game, especially when it's at home. But then Minnesota, and that's not a team to laugh at, guys. Like, they return a lot from that defense, and that is going to be a road game in a tough environment. And then, yes, you get your bye week, but then it's, oh, my God, Penn State, who could very well be a top 5 team coming into town. Like, you lose against Boston College. What Tom Fornelli just wrote, maybe you could hear the panic in my voice, but that's not far-fetched. That does seem like a real scenario that could happen. That's why we've been saying that, as ridiculous as it sounds, like, yes, the Penn State game is great. Sure, you always want to beat the tar out of Michigan and bring Paul back home. Like, there are better games on paper that shine brighter in the marquee. But the most important game of the season, it sounds silly, but it could be week 2 against Boston College, because that could set the tone for the rest of the year. Whether it shatters confidence, and of course, it's a way of how they lose that game. Like, oh, is the offensive line looking horrible? We all know the situation's there. But if you win that game, confidence booster, you can see the steps that hopefully the offense and defense are both taking. Hopefully they win that game in harmony with each other. But, oh, man, so much hinges on that game, not just for the confidence, though, but also, hey, when your win total is at 5.5 and you got to get to 6 to make a bowl game, every single win matters. It's got to happen week 2 against Boston College, guys, right? So hopefully it didn't scare you. Hopefully it didn't upset a lot of people. But, yeah, hey, if we're going to spend a lot of time talking about 9-3, I like to level set with everyone. And what better way to do that than talk about the best case and worst case scenario for our team here coming up this fall here. So, again, my prediction right now, I've been steadfast in this, is 7-5. I know it's not the sexiest record. I know it's not going to, get us on a train to Pasadena like it's 2013 all over again. But dang it, guys, it gets us back to a bowl game, and that's all that we want. I need a new bowl game hoodie. in my closet. So there you have it, guys, for the football talk. Really quick before I let you go, we're still on Gavin McKenna watch. Now, Gavin McKenna, if you have been under a rock or you just don't deal with anything ice hockey related, this kid is a phenom. He is going to most likely be the 2026 first overall pick in the NHL draft. He absolutely killed it in the WHL with the Medicine Hat Tigers last year, basically like averaging like 2 points, maybe even a little over 2 points per game for Medicine Hat. Hey, they just got Caden Lindstrom. Not bad. Fourth overall draft pick. He played with him very sparingly last year. Lindstrom had a lot of injury issues, but was a line mate with McKenna. Hopefully that helps with our recruitment. Now the story goes, I'm going off of a lot of different reports out there, aggregating a lot of them. So don't think that I have the inside info. This is what I'm reading from others and hearing from others when I'm talking to them, is that it is down between Penn State and Michigan State. Michigan is on the outside looking in. Boston University was there for a second, still could be, still might not be. But right now, the consensus is it's between Michigan State and Penn State. The word goes that Penn State certainly has the highest NIL offer out for him. They also have the new facilities, like their strength and conditioning facility is like millions upon millions of tens of millions of dollars. It is good shakes over there. But do you know who else has good shakes? Oh, that's right. Michigan State University, who also just did massive renovations. And, oh, yeah, that's right. Big Ten champions, Big Ten tournament champions, will likely go into next year as the number one team. They just had a guy win the Hobie Baker. They're returning this elite goaltender, Trey Augustine, and littered with NHL draft picks. You hope that the recruiting pitch to Gavin McKenna, what Adam Nightingale has already done here and will continue to do here, was enough to close that monetary gap between the Spartans and Penn State. So, look, this can happen whenever. This could happen when we are talking and recording. This could happen next week. This could happen first week of August. Who knows? That's pretty much been the mystery here, is not where, but when is Gavin McKenna going to commit somewhere? Because, oh, God, this would be great, guys. The hockey train would be rolling here as if it already isn't chugging along hard enough in East Lansing. All right, guys, we will be back this week. We're going to have an episode with Dylan Callahan-Crowley. Now, he does work with Minnesota. We're going to continue our week-by-week, way too early look-ahead preview on the Minnesota Gophers right now. They're the team that's up next. And then later this week, our guy Kent of Casual Big Ten comes back for our annual over-under best bets, not just for Michigan State, but also the rest of the Big Ten. So keep it tuned, guys. Locked on Spartans, your team in green and white. Now take care of yourselves. Love you all. Go Green.